for all the pain you caused me. Making up could never be your intention. You never know how much you hurt me. Stay, can't you see that I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms? I'm thinking of you. I hope you comprehend. I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms. I'm thinking of you. I hope you comprehend.
Give me some tissue, Tyler. Sometimes it feels cold and you feel alone, but hold on, better days are coming. It can be rough in this world. I know it ain't easy, but hang on in there. Better days are coming. You see good, you see bad, you get happy and you sad, but just remember that better days are coming. Friends will leave you all by yourself, but don't cry, comes better days are coming. Better days, better days are coming. It's only a season for you going through, but stay focused and never lose sight. I know people, they don't see the hurt inside, but keep on smiling 'cause everything will be alright. Better days, better days, are coming. Better days,
Without a shadow of doubt, better days are coming. Huh? Now I've seen Lady Chelsea.
Yeah.
Good morning, Lady Chelsea. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. You're feeling strong and alive, are you?
Yeah.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Good morning anyway. Good morning. And good morning to the audience. Thank you for sharing your time with us again this Saturday morning. So let's begin the show for giving the usual applause to Ian King, who's taken us from night to day. Ian King, thank you. And we appreciate your determination, dogged determination to keep this station going, even during the life of night. There you go, huh? Let's say it. But of course, important to give the applause to the Galaxy management. I want to recognize, of course, Chief Okumbabai, the visionary leader of Galaxy Radio, Elder Erekute, that elder of great wisdom, Dr. Man Abu Ratata, that sterling warrior of our people. And of course, the solution finder, Empress Shimnis. Let's get recognition to the women. Yeah. Never forgetting, of course, the Nickel, the most royal, the longest serving pilot on the station. Yeah. Wow. More than 30 plus years. Wow. You know, Lady Chelsea, how old are you?
It's 25.
Hey, yeah. Such determination. One has to give recognition to them, you know, because this is about legacy, you know. In order for legacy to happen, you need to have a vision. With that vision, you have the motivation. With that motivation, anything is possible, you know. Nothing can get in your way. Yeah, and it means that creating and maintaining an independent media platform that reflects the attitude and views of the African or Black community here in Britain. Yeah, that's legacy. I give praise to Nicodemus Roy, of course, and the rest of the Galaxy management, but never forgetting what one of our previous guests said. Remember, Nchure Echewa from Nigeria, that visionary journalist, the account of what's happening in Nigeria, and that beautiful article which focused on resources. And what she said is not Africa's natural resources, which is the source of its wealth. It's actually the technologies, what you do with those resources, that's actually the source of Africa's wealth. So if you just simply sell the raw materials and don't develop it, all you receive is the raw materials price. But if you manufacture based upon your own raw materials, that's where the real wealth is found. Look at Britain. It has relatively few raw materials. It's a remarkably rich country. That's the lesson. It's plain as day, yeah? As plain as day. He's so right. So I want to give recognition, of course, to the technician, the engineers who keep this station going and have kept it going for all these, not years, all of these decades. Yeah, I want to give recognition and say Ja Rastafari to them. You know, I recognize them. Without the technicians, the engineers, those who use those natural resources, mostly come from Africa, and use it to ensure this station can continue for this length of time, I say praise to you, you know, strength to you. You know? And we need more of them, more technicians, more engineers. We need more. Yeah? And of course, what our theme today, we need more pharmacists as well. Another clinician, get right. Woo! Get our fingers right. Oh, there you are. I give recognition to the engineers. Okay, but let's move forward. Okay. Well, I thought last week's show was really fascinating. Yes, Zakaria, our sculptor extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Those wonderful sculptures. And I've yet to acquire one. And when I do, it'll be centerpiece in the studio here.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I just wish I was that capable, using metal to shape into figurines, you know?
Yeah, it's
Can you imagine what a remarkable sister she is, you know? What a remarkable sister. And I just had to get that out quickly. And I definitely need to keep investigating the opportunities for her sculptures to be permanently displayed here in Southwark, or even more importantly, in my political ward. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Oh, me. Oh, right there. So, Zakaria, thank you. Thank you for an inspired few moments with you last week. Thank you. All right. Really, really, very good. Now then, let me also, just before I go into that part of the show, remind myself that it is important to continue to give out these health messages. Yeah? Yeah. Even though I've been challenged, even though I've been questioned why do it, you know, again, I've got to refer people to a speech by the Vice Chancellor of the University of West Indies, which is in the top 1% of the most brilliant universities across the world. But he cited that across the Caribbean and in many African communities, across the Americas, United States and those, and indeed parts of Europe, here in Britain, there is an epidemic of diabetes amongst the communities. Yeah. Now, I don't mean type 1, which is genetically result, type 2, which is clearly avoidable. Yeah. It is a result of our lifestyle. So I'm minded to continue to give these health messages out. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I'm going to remind people, not tell you, not instruct you, not give a mandate. Hey, not give a mandate. I'm going to suggest to you, you should consider how much sugar you're allowing into your diet, additional sugar that's not in the food, you know? You know, Lady Chelsea, teas and coffees, those soft drinks in those tins, that company that made a lot of money just from soft drinks, yeah? It's killing people. I don't mind saying it, it's killing people. Long term.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Delivery. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
I'm pretty sure that company's name I would not utter.
You don't have to.
Would agree that excessive amount of its soft drinks has no beneficial health outcomes. Even if we would admit it. Okay. There you go. And you know, if the company wishes to talk to me about this matter, I'm happy for them to do that as well. I say to people, particularly young people, okay, consider carefully the amount of sugar you're allowing to come into your body, okay? Because those drinks contain an incredible amount of sugar, and if you drink them every day or frequently, not only over 1 year or 2 years or 10 years, but over decades, it would have a cumulative impact, okay? And invariably, that cumulative impact is not beneficial. Okay? I'd also encourage people to consider the amount of salt that they're ingesting. Okay? Salt is one of those almost pernicious ingredients that we add to our diet, okay, for no good reason. No good reason. But I'm told often for taste. Yeah. And we encourage children to add to children's diet. They develop a taste for salt at an early stage in their lives. You know, so I encourage particularly mums and guardians, fathers and others to think carefully about the amount of salt that they're ingesting. Oh, I see we've got someone on the line. Can I ask you please to mute yourself? That's number ending in 2911, please mute yourself. We can hear your background noise. Okay. So I ask you all to consider the amount of salt that you're ingesting. Similarly, I don't ask you all also to consider the amount of fat that we are consuming, Fat come in many guises. I've given you the example of going to the butcher, buying a lovely piece of beef and seeing all this white stuff permeated throughout the beef, And you think, wow, what's that white stuff in the beef? And the butcher said, oh, no, it's very nice for you. It's a bit of fat, doesn't matter. No, it's very nice. You know what? That's fat. And you know what? You pay the same price for fat, which you should not be consuming that quantity, as you do for the beef. You don't get a discount if the beef contains that amount of fat. Wow, huh? It's there for the taste, sir. Huh? Come on, I say, come on. But of course, we are used to eating dairy products.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded by a nutritionist who watches our show, obviously, that in fact, dairy products are fundamentally fat.
Oh.
Butter is fat, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
Margarine, so-called, is fat. Yeah, and chemicals, of course. Fat. Yeah, milk is bovine lactose.
Okay.
Which is fat.
Okay.
It is fat,
Oh.
Meant for cows, but we drink it. But what,
Wow.
It's fat. Dairy products are essentially fat. Okay? And that's what goes into your arteries, okay, and block them up. It's all about proportion. Yeah. I don't say stop it. I don't say any of that. I say consider the amount you're consuming. Okay. Yeah. But dairy products are essentially just fat. And you know what? Not that I didn't know that, but this nutritionist, and she's particularly charismatic, which doesn't know how powerful she is. But I got my political hat on, and I have to be reasonably persuasive.
Yeah.
She was pretty frightening. It was a reminder. Okay. It was just a reminder that dairy products are essentially fat.
Yeah, I forgot.
Wow.
I know butter, but I didn't think about milk.
There you are. There you are. Yeah. And of course, you may know to say, we talk about the salts and sugars, the fats, and you've reminded us, of course, carbohydrates. Yeah, which is primarily wheat products everywhere.
Yeah.
We put in our bodies, to energy, and we store it in our bodies. Yeah? So when you see those girths and so on, often many people, particularly not those who have a hormonal imbalance or particular genetic propensity toward larger bodies, but those who have that experience are essentially expressing fat. Yeah, they're storing fat, usually derived from the food that we're consuming. And of course, she went on to say, as you would expect, she called me by my other public title. She said, look,
okay.
She said, look, Councillor, you know what you should be doing? Ensuring that you drink the appropriate amount of water, and you've got between 2 or 3 liters, and if you want to speak to your doctor or nutritionist, okay? Ensure you are eating a reasonable amount of fruits and vegetables every day, okay? Then she went on to say, most crucially, you must exercise. Yeah? Eating well and not exercising defeats the whole purpose of eating well. Yeah?
It defeats it? Oh.
Absolutely. She's pretty adamant about it. She's pretty adamant.
Okay.
No, you've got to exercise for at least 15 to 20 minutes per day. I talk about 2 or 3 minutes, or 5 minutes. She said, no.
Gosh.
At least 15 to 20 minutes each day.
Yeah.
Yeah? Your body craves for it. We are genetically predisposed to work our bodies. Yeah. And we failure to do that means that our bodies start to close down. And as we get older, you accelerate the pace at which it closes down, and your immune system is capabilities reduces as well. Yeah, and that's when you see people becoming older, don't exercise, don't eat well. You see them rapidly decline, or they just fall off a cliff. She said that's a sure sign that they have not prepared themselves for older age. And even though you are a young, beautiful, intelligent woman, Lady Chelsea, you are rapidly getting older each day, each moment that goes by.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You are not impervious to the effects of aging. There you are. Yeah. She spoke, this nutrition spoke with such power, I have to say.
Is she going to come on the show?
Indeed, I should get her on. Oh my God, I'll sit down and she will take over quite happily. I mean, that's a very good point, okay? Later on, we'll be speaking to a pharmacist, okay? But we should follow on with a nutritionist thereafter. Yeah. What a good idea. I think that will be a fascinating show. That will be a fascinating show. Okay. And lastly, she pointed out, and as I would say here anyway, not only do we need to ensure we take care of our physical health, of course, we need to take care of our mental health, okay? Alongside of course, our spiritual health. And give yourself time each day in which you're able simply to settle. You're quiet. You're contented. You wash away all the cares of the world, okay? And allow your mind to focus, and stay calm for good 30 minutes. She said 30 minutes. Oh my God. I say maybe 20 minutes, but she said 30 minutes. Hey, oh dear, I need to be more demanding myself, I suppose, didn't I? It's very clear. I just said, powerful personality. Always listen to women, gentlemen. Always listen to women. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was immensely proud, that the messages we've been giving out remain consistent. She totally endorses the messages we're giving out. They're not telling people, you ask them to consider, and you've got to keep repeating what is said, sound, common sense advice every week. Apparently, this is one of very few places where this happens every week. We devote 10 minutes just to those key health messages. Okay, and I've got my water somewhere, which I've lost somewhere. Oh, there's my water. Just to prove. Keep myself sufficiently hydrated. I've got that. Okay. Little bit of fruit in there always does wonders. I've found. Before coming on, Lady Chelsea, I was exercising.
Oh, here it is.
Okay, I hope she can see it. Okay, I'm only doing it for a minute or so, but believe me. Yeah, I did more earlier.
Okay.
Okay. If only for her, She'd understand. I know she's laughing at me as well. Hey, well, but if I don't prove it to her, she'll think otherwise.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. No, you have it. You exercise.
I made the mistake of suggesting that I got up and I did all my cleaning and so on, but I didn't mention training before coming on the show. She said, "Oh, are you really training counsellor?" I said, "Well, yes."
You wouldn't lie, would you?
You can't go on, can you? We are responsible for our health, okay? And if you want to live a long, healthy life, you've got to work at it, yeah? And you've got to care enough for yourselves to work at it. The whole purpose of these programs is to raise our motivation levels, yeah? Ensure we have the confidence to be our spokesperson for ourselves, our families, and indeed for the community. It's so important that when we have the opportunity to communicate these positive messages, we do so. Okay, here we are. Okay, now let me give it. Now I've said all that, and I believe she's satisfied now. I'm sure she'll send a message to me soon. I'm going to go on. We mentioned Zakaria, outstanding sculptor, and we most certainly must continue to give light to her artistic achievements. So if she's listening, I'll say well done to you. Okay, and of course to Joan Green, our resident teacher extraordinaire. She, of course, in her book, How to Pass 11 Plus and Other Examinations, her book remains an Amazon bestseller. Okay, yeah. As a result of listening to this program, yeah, it's going worldwide. Yeah, okay, and hopefully we can arrange for her for a book signing ceremony in not too far from here soon enough. So I look forward to that. Joan Green, well done, Sister Joan Green. And if you want to contact her, you can contact her via the Brighter Tuition website. Google it or YouTube search engine. Yeah, brightertuition.co.uk. Okay. Let me also go on to mention, of course, Steve Martin, our local historian. Outstanding gentleman. And we hope to continue to work with him in the future and to highlight the contributions of African people, Black people, both here in London and the rest of the country. This is the untold story of our contribution to British history, which often is overlooked by the majority population. It's our responsibility to shout from the mountaintop our contribution to British society and indeed to world civilization, and not allow ourselves to be overwhelmed by others, okay? We've made a contribution, a substantial contribution, substantial contribution to Britain. And of course, I think it's also important to always mention the Global African Congress. Its purpose, of course, is not simply reparations per se. Its contribution is to bring peoples together, to make a real contribution to ensuring that the maladies that affect our communities are directly addressed. And those of you who wish to join the Global African Congress, who are a group of mature African people, Black people, whose dedication is to uplift ourselves. My program is but a small microcosm of the magnitude of the Global African Congress UK. So if you want more details about the organization, just go to the website or the Facebook page, which is Global African Congress UK.org.uk. And you'll find us, that's the website address as well. I give a big shout out to all those in the Global African Congress. Okay. I think that's the end of my announcement, unless it's anyone else I should have mentioned, Lady Chelsea. Who else should I mention? I'm sure there are a few others who are shouting at the screen now. You haven't mentioned me.
There's the guy about the mental health. I don't know if his event is sold out.
Oh, wow. Yes. Brother Kunle. Oh, he will berate me for not mentioning his name. Well, let me assure you that hopefully on Monday, the organizations that were highlighted on this show and others who've made contact with us, which will all be coming together, look at ways in which these mental health organizations from our community can collaborate on joint initiatives. Okay. After all, if mental health organizations are not able to collaborate, then there's no hope for the rest of us, is there? Huh?
Yeah, that would be a bit worrying.
It'd be very worrying, but they all are very keen to network together, develop joint initiatives, and it makes it easier for people like myself when it comes to identifying funding sources to give justification to the funding application, because it's a group, not a single group, but the number of groups coming together and their potential influence, their potential impact upon the community is that much greater. So I look forward to Monday's meeting as the first meeting of these mental health organizations coming together, African organization, Black organization coming together to discuss mental health and how we can address that issue, that crucial issue within the community. Thank you, Lady Chelsea, for that reminder. And Kunle, well done, of the Empowerment Network. Well done. Power to you, I say to you, my brother Kunle. Anyone else I should remember?
About Still Band, one of the Still Band, the Caribbean.
Please, Lady Chelsea. Oh my God, you're on the ball today. I've been approached by a listener who's asked, am I aware of African drummers and those who manage still bands because here in Suffolk, of course, we are, of course, celebrating African History Month or Black History Month, whatever you like, okay? And remember, it's not all about entertainment. It's about communicating and understanding African culture, history, and traditions, you know? That's the essential message, which is not taught in schools. So we've got to teach it to the majority population, okay? So if you are someone who is part of a still band, or if you are part of a group of African drummers, we would like to hear from you, because we would like you to perform here in Southwark, most certainly in my own ward of North Walworth, okay? Now, the number to call, I'll give you a number. Oh, in fact, either you can call the studio today, and our Lady Chelsea will give out that number shortly, or you can call a mobile number. You can either call this mobile number, which is 07903 967 805. I repeat, you can call mobile number 07903 967 805. Or, of course, you can call into the studio, and I will give that number out before we go with Lady Chelsea and the wonderful questions. So the studio number to call is 0203 481 5240. And, of course, the PIN number, it's 3707 33 43 97, followed by the ash sign. Of course, that's the vertical and horizontal line on your keypad. Yep, there you are. You know, that's how it goes.
Will they need the PIN, or you just want them to text in?
Well, the mobile number, you can either phone or text on the mobile number, but ideally you can phone in this morning and say, yes, you're part of a still band, or you are a part of a drummer group. There you are.
Okay.
Anything else I should do? Oh, Lady Chelsea.
Not that I can think.
Oh, that's fine. I've now completed all my illusions now.
Okay.
Oh, dear. Thank you so much, Lady Chelsea. I'm going to hand over to you, Lady Chelsea, before we go into the theme of today, which is, of course, highlighting the pharmacy profession as it impacts the African or Black community here in Britain. Over to you, Lady Chelsea.
Yes, it's fine. It's be quick. So, hi, this is the competition for children, and this is in celebration, I suppose, of young Malachi, who came on our show a couple months ago. He was 14 at the time when he wrote his first book, which we've been promoting every week since been the show, which is called Tutankhamun, The Tale of the Adventurous Boy King, which is the prize with £25. But for anyone else, it is on Amazon, I believe, for £15. So I have 2 questions, same as usual. I'll give out the number again just in case people weren't ready that time. So it's the same studio number, but I'll just give it out quickly now before I do the questions. So the number to call is 020 348 15240. Then you'll be asked for a PIN number, which is 3707 33 43 97, followed by the hash key sign. Okay, so the first question I have is for the under 10s. Let's turn it up.
Question 1. How do you spell Tutankhamun?
So that's, how do you spell Tutankhamun? And that's for children under 10. Then I have the other question for 11 to 16-year-olds.
I always think, Lady Chelsea, that particular question for under 10, it's a,
But I think it's difficult.
You got to talk to him, and of course, you've got to speak to young Derek eventually. Anyway, go on, continue.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The other question for 11 to 16-year-olds.
Question 9. Who or what did the people of Kemet worship during the time of Tutankhamun?
So that's who or what did the people of Kemet worship at the time of Tutankhamun?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good questions, I have to say. So I can only urge you to speak to him.
Okay, for easier questions. All right.
And of course, we promised ourselves that we will take questions from young Derek. Yeah. And of course, give a quick shout out to young Derek Shortridge. Of course, he wrote his first book at age 11. Yes, words are wonderful. And of course, he was featured here on this show. I noticed that that particular show on YouTube has been viewed many, 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 many times.
Oh, good.
Oh my gosh, amongst the most popular shows we had. Young Derek,
That's
it inspired father, it inspired parents. I'll be immensely proud of him. So Derek, if you're listening, love you always. Yeah. Of course. Same to you, Malachi. Of course.
Of course. Both of you are quite impressive.
Yeah, but we need to get questions from both of them. And of course, we're now looking out for a young lady who are in school age, who's done something that is, that is notable.
Yes.
So I urge parents who are listening, who have a daughter who's in school, primary school, greater than primary school, I have to say, and has done something which is exceptional, just stands out, and it's a marker for how we'd like all of our sons and daughters to perform. Please bring them to us. We will give them a public hearing. And we'll make sure your daughters or sons even, are proud of you, mum and dad. Yeah. Guardians and others, We'll make sure, because it's so important. We recognize our children's achievements. Our children are amongst the most driven, determined, ambitious people in the world. And we should all be proud of our children. There you are. Don't let any propaganda out there suggest otherwise to you. Our children are the best you can get. I'm immensely proud of all of our sons and daughters. I want to say that. Yeah. Clap them. I want to give a good clap to them, and recognize them. All righty. And what else should be shared at this point as part of our prelude? First of all, I want to encourage parents who are listening, your sons and daughters, your nieces and nephews, if you're able to answer this question, please call in. Let's give out the number again, if you don't mind, Lady Chelsea. So it's 0203 481 5240. And of course, the PIN number, it's 3707 33 43 97, followed by the ash sign, as you say, the vertical and horizontal symbol on your keypad. Love to hear from you. And I know they are challenging questions, and I recognize that. Don't you worry. I know it's a little early as well. We recognize that. But honestly, there's one young man who's likely to get, who's answered a number of questions, and his reward will be pretty big. So, so we're looking for other young people, those of primary school age and those who are in secondary schools from 16 down to 11, and then from 10 on down to whatever, You might have a young genius amongst you, We would love to hear from you. And of course, we might give other platforms which you could respond to the question. And of course, this show is being transmitted via YouTube and Facebook under the Motivator Show, and that's DE space Motivator Show. So you can find us on YouTube And of course, you can also find us on Facebook as well. Okay, and I'm assured I've just checked both platforms that they are working well. Okay, so honestly, if you're on YouTube, give us a like, or on Facebook, give us a like that. I understand. And so that's what I should be doing apparently. Give us a like, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're on YouTube, of course, subscribe. And all what will happen is that notifications of the preceding show will be sent to you.
Yeah.
And when the show is about to begin, you'll receive a further notification.
And maybe comment as well to
of course,
boosting engagement, but questions or feedback and what you like and stuff.
Yeah, we welcome your feedback. We welcome any comment you might have. Thank you. Really is important to us to listen carefully to your opinions. I also want to just now focus on the theme for the show, if I may. Chelsea. And I'll give parents and young people the opportunity to call at any time up until we close at 10 o'clock. So you're not confined to this immediate time. Yeah. But let me just say this to you, that we often talk about various professions in ways that I'm not sure it's always complimentary. Okay. But each of these professions are professions that we need to have a presence in. Okay. And one of those in the medical field is, of course, pharmacists. Okay? Now, pharmacists are often, I should say, pharmacists are often viewed by us as being the first port of call. Yeah, because increasingly these days, as many of you will be aware, it takes time to get in to speak to your doctors. Mm-hmm. Your GP normally has a week or two, or in some cases even 3 weeks wait before you can get in to see your GP. Mm-hmm. But invariably, the pharmacist is usually on the high street, is readily available because it's on the high street. Yeah, and of course, the pharmacist is part of a chemist, maybe part of a chemist chain, are that much easier to access. You know, so as a result, pharmacy has become increasingly important, both to the NHS and indeed to all communities, including our own. Okay. So I want us to look at this profession this morning and consider how pharmacists contribute to the health and well-being of our community. Okay, I'd like us to look at what is the role that pharmacists play within our community. Okay, and of course, encourage young people to consider pharmacy as a career path for themselves. Okay, and so therefore I've invited a number of pharmacists to appear here today, of course, Lady Chelsea. Okay. So I've invited a representative of the UK Black Pharmacists Association, and also someone who is not a member of the Pharmacists Association, but is a listener to the show, okay, who is also a pharmacist. Okay, and with the hope that they can respond to some broad questions, which I hope, Lady Chelsea, you are ready and able to lead the questioning. Okay, just so that we are able to gain insights to the contribution pharmacists play in our community and their strategically important role that they play in our community, and that's the important point to make, that these are important strategic roles. You know, because very often we as a community do not fully appreciate how important our local pharmacist is in our community. Okay, and because of that, we don't give them the recognition, the importance that they amply deserve. Okay, and I hope this morning's show will address a number of the key questions as to the role of pharmacists, and of course, to better understand the pharmacy profession. And my research, which only did I discover the existence of the UK Black Pharmacists Association, but I now discover that within pharmacy, there are up to 50 subheadings under the guise of pharmacy, which I was quite astonished by, I must say, really astonished by. And I went through a crash course to begin to understand what it is to be a pharmacist. And it is truly a rewarding profession. Now, I hope that we've got a number of guests on the line already, and then we can begin with our questions. So first of all, can I just double check that we have Elijah? Are you on the line?
I am, Councillor Seaton.
Good morning, Elijah.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, good morning. Now, in this format, whilst I'm indeed a councillor, in this format, I'm known as the Motivator. Okay, so you call me the Motivator this morning. Okay.
Sure.
Good morning to you. And on the other side, I believe we may have a representative from the UK Black Pharmacy Association. Is there someone on the line? From the UK Black Pharmacy Association? Not yet. No, we do not have a representative yet from the UK Black Pharmacy Association. Otherwise, they will join us shortly in that case. That's fine. So, Elijah, thank you, first of all, for sparing the time to be with us this morning. Okay, I know it's a little early, but I'm sure it's not too early for you. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. I'm an early riser, and I've been up since 6 o'clock this morning.
There you are. And I'm assuming that you've completed your exercises. You heard my health messages this morning.
Absolutely. The Motivator. You're really leading the way in this direction, and I'm sure a lot of us are joining your lead.
Thank you so much. And as I said, every so often I'm challenged by some audience members also, why do I give out those health messages? And I say, well, look, I'm not telling you what to do. I simply, my role here is to suggest to you that considering what you eat is an important part of your overall health and well-being. Okay? So there's no instructions, it's simply to consider. That's what I say to people, simply consider. But thank you for that endorsement. And if there's any aspect of what I've said or messages I have communicated that you want to refine this morning, I'm open to you to refine my health messages, okay? Open to you to do that, okay? Now, I believe we may also now have a representative from the UK Black Pharmacy Association, Mafina. Good morning. Can you hear us all right? We can see you, but can you hear us? Oh, she can't hear us. She can't hear us. Okay. Let me send her a message. One moment, Elijah. Let's sort this out whilst we're doing this. Let me send her a message if we can't hear her. Okay, well done, Elijah. Thank you. We can see you now as well. Fino from the UK Black Pharmacy Association. We can see but not hear you. Oh, I'm not sure if you can hear us at the moment. Okay, well, so that, okay, she's coming in on another route. Here we are. Wonderful technical. There we go. She'll connect this time. Okay, all right. Very engaging picture. There you go. There you go. Good morning, Mafino. Can you hear us all right this time?
Yeah, I've had to join using my phone because for some reason it was not working when I tried to join with my laptop. So yeah, that's fine.
Not a problem.
I can hear you now.
Good morning to you, and thank you for sparing the time to join us this morning. Okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Good. Now, the advantage of having both a man and a woman here is that we get interesting perspectives, okay? And of course, we hope at the end of our interview with yourself this morning that there'll be positive outcomes, okay? So of course, Mafina, as you represent the UK Black Pharmacists Association, okay, do you mind if I begin with you this morning? Okay.
Yeah,
and I'm going to hand you over to my co-host, Lady Chelsea. Okay, and it's got a few questions for you, and I might intersperse, and of course we'll then bring Elijah in on the discussion. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Hi. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for joining. Yes, I'll begin with you. Sorry, how do you pronounce your name?
Mafino. It's just pronounced how it's spelled. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Mafino, that's fine. Yeah, so first of all, just wanted to know, like, if you want to give a bit about yourself, what you do, who you are, and how you got into pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, so my name is Mafino. I'm currently like a UK qualified pharmacist. I've been qualified for about 8 years now. I have worked across various different sectors. I've worked in community, so I've worked in like the super drug pharmacy before. I've worked in a lot of different hospitals. So I've worked in like Guy's and St Thomas's, worked in Milton Keynes, Liverpool, Surrey, London. So I've worked all over really. I currently am working in the NHS and the clinical commissioning group. So it's not patient facing, it's more around like the funding of NHS services and cost effective medicine use and medicines optimization. And I've been doing that for about 2 years now. So I'm a senior manager at the moment. So I've kind of worked my way up slowly over the years. What made me initially get into it? Well, to be honest, it was more, I'm Nigerian, so I'm from a typical Nigerian background. And usually when you're going to go to uni, my dad basically gave me 4 options. And it was either like medicine, pharmacy, accounting or law.
I like your dad. I like your dad. Huh?
Yeah.
I'm a Jamaican, huh?
Yeah, so I went pharmacy because at the time I thought it would be like less hours and less work, but actually I think it's about the same. But yeah, so I just went with that. But it's been good. I mean, you always get job security and you have like a stable lifestyle and you can afford the things you want. So actually, to be honest with you, it was probably a good decision in the end.
Okay. No, that's good to hear. Enjoying
it. Maybe just ask the same question of Elijah, who's a listener and someone who I spoke to initially. Okay, and I know that Elijah has been in the profession for a number of decades. So please tell us a bit more about yourself, Elijah.
Very good question, the motivator. I have had a slightly more convoluted entry into the profession. And by that, I mean, I studied up to A levels in my home country in Ghana. And then I obtained a scholarship to study pharmacy in Russia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. So I actually obtained my degree in Russia. I speak fluent Russian. And after completing my degree course in 1995, I went back home briefly and then relocated to the UK. And it took me a while before I was able to get into the career path of getting registered as a pharmacist. So I did a few things in between. And then I eventually sat the registration exams, passed it first time. And I have been working as a community pharmacist ever since. I've been involved in other things along the way, but I was involved in a number of branches of quite a big chain, independent chain in the east end of London. And then about 10 years ago, I decided to venture on my own and started my own pharmacy in Kent, where I've been until now.
I might need to get you in my political ward. I'd love to have a pharmacy chain managed by an African person. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Oh. Why in Kent, he says. Why in Kent? Anyway, wow. And before I go back to Lady Chelsea, I note that in both your cases, of course, you talk about school and A levels. Is A levels a requirement in order to enter the pharmacy, go on to take a pharmacy degree or profession? Is it an A-level a requirement? I wonder.
Yes. Yeah, so it is. You have to, depending on the university. Well, I can only speak for the UK. He might be able to tell you about around the world. But in the UK, yeah, you definitely need A levels. For my university, so I went to University of Manchester. At the time, I think it's all changed now, actually. But at the time, you needed AAB or ABB, and it had to be in science. Sort of subjects, and you had to at least do biology and chemistry, or two sciences anyway, or physics. And I did chemistry, biology, and English language and literature. And then at university, it's a 4-year degree in all the universities. So you come out with like a Master's of Pharmacy, MPharm, and then to actually qualify as a pharmacist, which I didn't realize at the time. I thought once you finish the degree, that's it, you can go and practice. But you have to do like 1 year of pre-registration training. So you're essentially sort of like an intern, but you are getting paid. And then you have a national exam at the end of it. And then the pass mark at the time was like 70% or something. And you have like a maths element to it as well, because you have to like be able to like quickly calculate dosages and things like that. So then if you pass that and then your tutor signs you off to say they think that you're competent to become a pharmacist, then you can register to go onto the General Pharmaceutical Council's Register of UK Pharmacists, which is just like a lot of paperwork and money, basically. And then you're a pharmacist. So it probably takes all in all 5 years if everything goes smoothly.
Yes, thank you for that. And
if I could just add a little bit to that.
Elijah.
Yes, yeah, I do agree with Mifino. So the important subject at A level is chemistry, because people need to understand that pharmacy is one of the clinical sciences which links clinical practice with pharmacy, with chemistry, if you like. Yeah, so chemistry is the key subject, and then you need 2 other A levels. And as she rightly put it, you either need ABB or AA up to AAB in any of those, but one must be chemistry, and it could be either mathematics or biology or any other science subjects. There is an alternate route that most people may not be aware of. If you don't come from a science background, you can do a 2-year foundation degree, and most UK universities offer that route. Yeah, so you can start off with arts subjects and then do that 2-year foundation degree to ground you in the basic sciences, and then go on to study pharmacy afterwards.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. That's very, very informative. And those young people who are listening and listening to the recordings thereafter, we need you. Need you. Lady Chelsea.
Yeah, sorry, Elijah. Do you know what that course is called, in case people like were looking? Is it just a pharmaceutical what the course is called, so people could look for it?
Yeah, I believe it's a pharmacy foundation course.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you. Also wanted to know, was there any like relevant work experience, either of you can answer this, you did while studying that was helpful to you or that you needed while in university or A levels that other people could do as well?
Interesting question.
Yes, if I start with that, I did a little bit work experience as a dispenser in the pharmacy where I eventually did my pre-registration training. Since I qualified, I've actually run that for a number of A-level students, in fact, younger as well.
Forgive me for interrupting, Elijah. Yes. I know you both are used to it, because I do it myself. Both of you using descriptors which are likely to be unfamiliar. So what's a dispenser versus a pharmacist? What's that, please?
Yeah, great question. A dispenser is effectively a pharmacist's assistant. So they do everything in the pharmacy that leads towards the final preparation and giving out of medicine to patients. Yeah, but there are limits to what they can do. So you need to be a qualified pharmacist to be able to do what we call the final check. There are other routes that have evolved since. We now have what we call accredited check-in technician, which doesn't require a pharmacy degree.
What is that? What is that? That's another description. Again, another description is given to us. What is that?
So accredited check-in technician is effectively a more advanced form of a dispenser. It's undergone additional training, and most of these trainings are NVQ based. A number of universities offer them, and sometimes they are not actually linked to universities. We have an organization called NPA, the National Pharmaceutical Association, which offers courses, and there are other affiliate organizations that offer such courses as well. But the main requirement is you need to be working in a pharmacy and be under the direct supervision of a pharmacist to do that course and undergo various checks. And once you qualify and pass all the relevant tests, you can then become an accredited check-in technician, and that gives you the license to be able to check prescriptions independent of the pharmacist.
Oh, okay. Interesting. If I could maybe thank you for that. If we go over to Mifuno, and that's interesting. So, Mifuno, you are not hospital. I'm not trying to work out if you're hospital-based or...
So,
right. So you're both pharmacists, but you have different roles, yes.
I'm going to say, he explained really well in terms of, community pharmacy, which is what a lot of people know in terms of Boots Pharmacy and Lloyd's and all that type of thing. I actually didn't really go down that route for very long, personally. My personality, I cannot be in a confined space with a few amount of people. Okay,
that's honesty for you, isn't it?
Yeah. I wanted a bit more freedom personally, so I went into hospital pretty quickly, and in hospital it's a bit different in terms of the role of the pharmacist and the pharmacy technician. So he explained it really well in terms of, yes, most technicians, they'll need like some sort of NVQ, some type of training. I think it's a lot like less years, and you don't technically have to be like a actual degree and things like that. So in the hospital sector, a lot of it works in terms of you're ward based, actually. So even before I was a pharmacist, I didn't even realize this. So pharmacists can actually work on hospital wards, which is what I did. My one was a very clinical role, so I was a clinical pharmacist, and then I became a specialist clinical pharmacist later down the line and got my...
What is a clinical pharmacist?
So clinical pharmacist is essentially when you deal with patients that are probably in hospital or sometimes GP practice, where you're actually like reviewing their prescriptions according to their diagnosis. You have a bit more autonomy in terms of like asking or suggesting that doctors prescribe specific doses, or if they're aware of specific interactions between medicines, you'll look at that. So in the hospital sector, what I would do on a day-to-day basis would be you go to the ward, you do a drug history. So when patients are admitted into hospital, they'll typically go through A&E. If they're sick enough, they'll get a bed in the hospital. Once they're on a ward, in a bed, pharmacists will come round. So the doctor, if the patient was admitted out of hours, they will do a quick drug history. So they might say to the patient, do you take any medicines? Some patients will be like, oh, no, not really. Because they're very ill, they don't really think about the things that they actually are taking. They just want to get seen and go. But then if they end up staying longer than 24 hours or within 24 hours, we're meant to do a proper drug history. So we have access to sort of their summary care records, which is linked to their GP records. So what a lot of patients don't know is that, like, they think that NHS is sort of like, we all know what's going on in the different sectors and we can easily access one record. And it's not like that at all. We don't know anything about you when you come into hospital. And because patients have started opting out of sharing their details, that actually means you can't share it with other NHS organisations, which is a bit weird. But I think they're trying to fix that at the moment. But you have to say that you're happy for that to happen, maybe in the event of an emergency and things like that. So
because there's a lot of information packed in there. So what you I think you're referring to is our patient record, our medical records, GP records, are being shared with the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay, and what you're saying is that some people opt out of that sharing, and thereby the hospital has no account of your medical records.
Yeah.
Wow. So how do you treat someone who doesn't know their medical records?
Yeah, so sometimes in those cases when the patient has done that, because that makes it faster because we have like a sort of part card, but if they don't, then we would have to physically, or not physically, but we'd have to actually call the GP or email them or fax them, or they've tried to scrap faxing now, but we'd have to request that they actually like send it directly because it's in the patient's best interest, which just takes longer. So if the patient is on Parkinson's meds or epileptic medication or cardiac medication, like it's critical that we know in a quick time frame so that we can get them prescribed the medicines that they need. But yeah, so essentially you check that they're on the right medicines, they're prescribed correctly, we link in with the patient, then we go on, well, with my role, because it was a bit more specialist, I'd go on the ward round. So I used to work in like cardiac wards, so patients that have just had heart attacks or patients that are due to have like a stent put in their heart just to open it up if their arteries are blocked. So I'd go on the ward round with the doctors and we would look at their drugs and like, because with cardiac medicine, they always end up being put on like 5 drugs after they've had a heart attack or something. So it was just making sure that everything's correct and checking against like their blood results and checking the side effects haven't affected, like they're not getting any side effects from any medications. We'd actually check their blood pressure, you know, their electrolytes, their blood. So yeah, it's very clinical. I'd write their discharge medications, everything like that. So yeah, that's kind of a nice side to get into if you do want a bit more freedom and like you learn things all the time and you're around doctors, nurses, care assistants. Like it's a nice range of staff and flexibility.
Thank you. And of course, if I'm using the correct term, so you're in the acute sector or secondary care, whereas Elijah is very much in the community or primary care sector. Would that be a right interpretation?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Then we'll get that right, because there's a lot of information you're both giving to us. And of course, you've got to remember, the audience know very little about the profession. Okay, so every so often I will intersect. Now, I'll go back to Lady Chelsea. Lady Chelsea.
Oh,
there you are.
sorry. Again, this is for iReview. How is the profession viewed by other medical professions? Do you feel like you're respected or it's respected? I don't know, as doctors look at pharmacists or the community look at pharmacists. What's your opinion?
Who wishes to go first? Elijah, please hear you.
Great question. And I think I must congratulate you, the Motivator. I don't know how you did it, but you selected the perfect team of panelists. Mefino being in the hospital sector and myself being in the community sector. It couldn't have been a better mix. Right. So the answers may differ depending on where one works. In the community, we tend to view our relationship with GPs in particular as one of rivalry. That has been the case for many decades, but it is starting to change very, very quickly, especially since pharmacists started working within GP settings. And we have prescribing pharmacists, and it's becoming the trend. Pretty much, as a matter of fact, I think the Motivator, you may be familiar with that.
Forgive me, but Elijah, so what is a prescribing pharmacist? I thought doctors prescribed.
Great question. Again, it's something the UK has been slow in adopting. It's something that's been practiced in other countries, the likes of Canada and the US, for years. If you look at it, pharmacists are effectively the specialists in medicine. Okay. Yeah, so what tends to happen is patients go through the diagnostic processes and everything, and when it comes to treatment, they leave it to the specialist in medicines. So pharmacists are the natural people to actually prescribe medicines. And as I said, it's been practiced in many countries over the years. The UK has been rather slow at adopting it, but we're getting there. And more and more pharmacists are now employed as part of the GP practice team. And what they do, as Mefino rightly put it, is medicines optimization, where they look at people's prescriptions, whether somebody still needs a repeat medicine that's been on their prescription for decades,
Okay.
whether it's appropriate for them, whether the dose is right, whether they are getting the correct amounts monthly, and so on and so forth. And it's actually saving the NHS a lot of money because it eliminates a great deal of waste and optimizes people's care. So it's a win-win, if you like. The situation has improved significantly, and they are now beginning to see pharmacists more as partners than competitors. It's still a struggle in certain areas, but generally, I think the working relationship is improving significantly.
Hmm. So you describe that in primary care, but going back to Mafina, of course, it appears to be that your description is that you are pharmacists or part of that clinical team as the doctor peruse the beds, that you're with the doctor and you're giving advice directly to the doctor. So you're seen as being an ally rather than an adversary. Am I right? Okay.
That's absolutely correct, Martin. Yes. So it's very, very different in primary or community versus hospital or secondary care. You are definitely seen a lot more as an ally. In fact, I probably spent a lot more time with doctors and nurses than I did with actual pharmacy member teams, because if you think about a hospital, you know, even a small one might have about 10, 15 wards, and then the pharmacy team for that hospital might be about 10 pharmacists. So maybe each pharmacist has a ward or has 2 wards, and then you're kind of primarily just based there doing all the work. So a lot of the time you're sitting down next to the doctor, or you're sitting, or the nurse is coming up to you and she's saying, oh, can you help me with this? Or we'd order their medicines as well to say, oh, this person's running out of X drug. Can you order it from the dispensary where the technicians are primarily based, and then they'll dispense it and send it up. So yeah, it's totally different. They do value a lot of your opinion. They will ask you if they're not sure, if they decide, you know, they want to prescribe, I don't know, something that everyone would know, maybe paracetamol or something. They might say, oh, you know, what's the maximum that this can go up to? Because a lot of the time in hospital, patients are on IV as opposed to oral. So yeah, you definitely have a really positive relationship with doctors in hospital, and you're essentially reducing their workload by being there, especially with my role where we actually write the discharge letters and medication. They would write the clinical summary and the diagnosis, and we would like focus on. So that would eliminate a lot of the work that they needed to do.
Okay, thank you. That's really interesting. I must say, really quite interesting. The distinctions are quite interesting as well. If we go back to Lady Chelsea, maybe your final question before we open up the lines. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Again, this is for both of you. I think I kind of wanted to know what it's like being African or Black people within the profession, especially with you, Mafina, being a woman as well. What it's been like, your problems and so on.
And let me just say before you begin, Mafina, I had such a pleasure when I spoke to you last night. You know, my daughter is a pharmacist, you know, an energetic, enthusiastic pharmacist. Oh my dear, let me tell you, I'm proud of you, all right? Let me just say that just before you begin. Now, tell us, what is it like being a Black woman, an African woman in the NHS as a pharmacist, a part of his clinical team? What is it like? Tell us.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I've been very lucky. So the way, in terms of gender, I think it's different in primary care and hospital, because in hospital, actually, a majority of the hospital pharmacists are women. So that's not an issue on that front. But I typically am usually the only Black woman on my team, actually. I think the only time that I wasn't the only Black woman on my pharmacy or pharmacist team was when I was in central London, because I guess it's generally a bit more diverse. But anywhere else, like maybe on the outskirts or outside of London, yes, I was. Or if I wasn't, maybe there were 1 or 2 others that maybe were more senior that have been there for a very, very long time. But in terms of young Black women, yeah, I was usually the only one. In the team I am in now, I am the only Black woman. And the thing is, though, you have to remember with pharmacy, as we all know, it is pretty Asian dominated in terms of
Absolutely. Yeah.
So even in my degree, I think I was at a big uni and there was about maybe 200 of us. And there was probably about 10 Black people on the course.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
So it's not a lot of Black people generally that even opted to or got in, or I don't know whether they didn't apply or there's just a that got through. And it's so actually when you get into the profession, there's a lot less generally because they didn't study it. So in my and then it was predominantly Asian, so Black and whites were actually the minority on the course. So that translates into like you know, people always joke, you know, their GP is probably Asian. Asians do like, you know, the medical sort of healthcare side of career paths. So they tend to be the majority. And even in my team, it's pretty much all Asian apart. And then it's like me and maybe I think two or three white people.
Fascinating. And do you perceive that there are barriers, or you know what, you've been quite lucky?
Interestingly enough, I actually think I've received probably more indirect racism from Asians than white people. White people have actually been totally fine, actually. The Asians. For me,
I hear you. Interesting. That's the interesting dynamic.
Yeah, there's been lovely ones as well, but in terms of like the odd times when I have had any issues, it's been Asians.
I understand you.
Yeah. So have you been able to deal with it properly, like the proper channels and stuff like that, or has it not been that bad?
It's funny because Asians are very clever. So the way that they'll go about things, they wouldn't do things in a way where it's really easy to pinpoint them down like that was actually that was actually nasty or whatever it is. So they're very good at, you know how I guess in all work environments sometimes, but particularly NHS, there's this saying that like, if you don't write it down, it didn't happen. So a lot of the time, they will like, or some people, not even just them, but some other people they'll like document things that didn't happen actually. And just because there's this like sort of philosophy that, you know, if you wrote it down, it must be true. And so they'll say something different verbally to you. And they're good at covering their backs. Obviously, they'll be friends with the people that matter. I hear you. If anything does happen, it will be like, oh, they could never do that. They're such a nice person. Like,
I hear you.
It's probably similar in different sectors as well.
Thank you. That's a useful insight.
I think my experiences are very similar to Mefino's. There are a number of instances where you attend meetings and I'm quite often the only Black person there. And the additional burden of not speaking like any of you, because I didn't grow up here. I don't have the typical British accent. So sometimes they look at you and they hear you speak and they wonder, is this person at the right place? But then they see the quality of your work and all of that changes. We are now very clinical in the community as well. We carry out services like vaccinations. I run an entire travel clinic where I do travel vaccinations. I do the seasonal flu vaccinations and everything. People come in and they're looking around. Who's going to give the injection? And they point at me. And they see the looks on their faces change. But when they experience it, oh, I didn't feel anything. You're better than the nurse that gave me last year. You're better than, and the story just carries on. So as the years go by, people begin to realize that it's not the looks, it's not the accent, it's not the appearance, it's the quality of your job that speaks for itself. And I'll tell you an interesting story. About 15 years ago, I was a member of the Tower Hamlets Substance Misuse Monitoring Group. It was a team of doctors, police officers, and I was the only pharmacist and again the only Black on there. And I was selected to do a course which is normally reserved for general practitioners, and it's level 2 substance misuse course. So I had to book it through the Royal College of GPs. And the lady that took my booking, unaware of my qualification, thought I was a GP. And they sent me to a venue in York. I ended up there being the only pharmacist, the
Right.
only black person. And,
Right.
you know,
Yes.
people were wondering, are you at the right place? But
Mhm.
interestingly, at the end of it, I recall one Dr. Davis, who was the tutor, the main tutor. We had to critically assess a paper, and at the final viva, where we were awarded our grades and everything, he looked at me. You, Elijah? I said, yes. He shook my hand. Said, your work was outstanding. You
There you
did
go.
better than everyone else in the group.
There you go.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I thought I was there I was the wrong person at the wrong place, and to end up with that, it was just, I was elated. Yeah, but those are the experiences you get. And I think it's important with the young people watching that you will face these barriers, but persevere and you will overcome them. I do get another experience where people walk into the community pharmacy, and it applies to our own kind as well.
Mhm.
You see,
Yes.
quite often the staff around me are all either Asian or white, and
Yes.
I'm the only black person. So they come and straight walk to an Asian-looking person. They want to speak to the pharmacist, and then when they refer them back to me, you see the shock on their faces. Oh, I thought you were the pharmacist. So the experiences are varied and can be demotivating, but you got to persevere.
Yeah, I agree with you, Elijah, actually, in terms of like people's prejudice when they first see you. Like I had that a lot because I like looked really young for my age as well. Like I'd get people be like, you're a pharmacist? You sure? And I'd get the same thing if I'm in hospital, if I'm sitting at a desk. I'm not even at the desk. The reception is right there. They always think I'm the receptionist. No matter where I'm sitting on they will find me in the corner and they will ask me where to go. And I'm like, I'll help you, but I'm not the receptionist. Yeah. And there is definitely a lot of prejudice just purely based on how you look and whether you could be a pharmacist. And I think I agree. I guess I didn't experience as much because obviously people can tell when they speak to me that maybe I was brought up in the UK or I was born in the UK. So I think people probably are maybe nicer to me generally because of that. And I have seen people who have strong accents, even ones that have come, from straight from India or Africa or wherever they are. And they are treated differently at the beginning. People do pick at them and pick at their work, trying to look for flaws because they assume because they didn't grow up here, they must be less educated or less intelligent. But then as a black person, you do have to work twice as hard. You have to basically make no mistakes for people to view you as a good pharmacist. Whereas there's some people, blonde hair, blue eyes, they make all the mistakes in the world and it's like, oh yeah, it happens to the best of us. And then the black person will make one mistake and it's like disciplinary, here we come. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. Can I ask you, Bafina, before we go to the callers now, formally open the line, the UK Black Pharmacists Association, just tell us a little bit about that, because I spoke to your inspired founder, Elsie Gomez. Oh my dear. I haven't spoken to you, but I haven't spoken to Elsie as well. Oh my gosh. Such an inspired group of people. Tell us a little bit about the organisation and why it exists.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. So in a nutshell, Elsie, she is the president of Black Pharmacy Association. She founded it purely based on the fact that, she'd experienced a lot of like issues and maybe racism as a pharmacist, and she wanted to help other Black pharmacists who were possibly going through the same thing. I'm the vice president of the Black Pharmacy Association. So I have essentially done it because I have experienced, negative. I've had like early in my career when I was a little less savvy, I experienced a lot of things. I guess I was a bit more naive. Now I'm clued on. I thought, you know what? Let me actually help other people that potentially may be going through it, because it is quite traumatic when you're going through it and you don't really know what to do. You don't know if, because of the way that the British way is. It is very subtle. You're like, am I actually being or I'm not even sure what's going on here. Am I, you don't really know what's going on. So it kind of is nice to talk to someone who's kind of probably experienced similar things.
Mm-hmm. So how can those who would like to become members of the association or seek advice from you, how can they contact you?
Okay, yeah. So we have a website. I think it's literally ukbpa.co.uk or .com. But if you Google UK, it's there, and then you can just message us. There's like a hyperlink and everything. I can post it in the chat as well.
Please.
Yeah, and yeah, you can. One of us will reply. But I think the same way you found us, Martin. We regularly check that, and we'll just respond back.
Very good, very good. So indeed, I also found you via Twitter. You've got a Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I used. Okay, so it's and of course, the association would seek to support pharmacists in the profession and those who wish to enter the profession. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah. So at the moment, we usually just accept people that are at the moment currently registered Black pharmacists or training to be a pharmacist.
Right.
But we help. We give advice as well, and especially recently, for some reason, we've had a lot of queries around, how can people that live overseas come here to be a pharmacist, whether they are already a pharmacist in their home country or they want to become a pharmacist now. So yeah, we're happy to give them advice, because we do have a lot of different specialities in our association with varying skills and in background. So there's always someone that probably knows.
So would you encourage all pharmacists to join your association?
Well, at the moment, we're encouraging Black pharmacists because...
Yes, indeed, forgive me.
Yeah, talk about a lot of Black topics. So, yeah. Encourage all Black pharmacists to join.
Oh.
Or the fight Black.
Oh, hold on. Elijah, are you a member of the association?
I have heard of them, but I'm not yet a member. But I can say I will be looking to joining, because we will be stronger together.
Absolutely.
I believe we have a lot in common. We can motivate the younger ones, because pharmacy is a growing profession and is so varied. We will be shooting ourselves in the foot if we don't encourage our youngsters to get into that. So whatever we can do together to get more Black people involved, I am for that. So I'll certainly be joining you.
Thank you. That's an outcome for you, Mafino, huh? There you are. Thank you, Elijah. Thank you. Let's get your association up and running.
One good thing is, in our group chat, actually, we have people post jobs and stuff. So there's random job opportunities that you might not see that aren't on the typical NHS jobs website and things like that. So yeah, it is nice to have a bit of camaraderie, because usually, I think Elijah kind of alluded to, sometimes it's your own. Some other Black pharmacists don't want you to prosper. Do you know what I mean? They think there's only space for one Black person at the top.
Yeah.
Support each other.
Thank you. And yes, that's another aspect of our pathology we need to avoid, yeah. But that's another show. Mental health is another show. We had one last week. I know. We had one last week, and we can have future shows about our psychology as a people, and how it's evolved and what we need to do to correct it. So that we are truly working together. So I'm really pleased that Elijah has responded the way he has, and of course that response is what I knew he would say, that working together, we're stronger together. Yeah?
Yeah, amen.
Amen, indeed. So, I like you. Let's have the line now. Then. So I know we've got a few people already, but let's, Lady Chair, you want to give out the telephone number first of all?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so number to call is 020 348 152 40. Then you'll be asked for a PIN number, which is 3707 334397, followed by the hash key sign.
There you go. And of course, I always say, I know this son of my age, hash key, it's actually the vertical and horizontal line on your keypad,
Yeah.
They say hash
less
key.
confusing for them.
There you are. Horizontal, and there you go. Right. Let's now go to some of these quarters. So we've got a few already online, and I see Kofi Brace. Kofi, would you like to ask a question of our guest? No?
No.
I'm shy. Okay. Kofi, I see you online. Okay.
No.
No? Okay. Okay. No. Would you like to say anything to us? You can unmute yourselves. You're mute.
They're not. I don't think they're muted.
They're not muted.
I just forgot they're there. I don't know.
Okay. Not you worry. Steve, I see you online. Would you like to ask the questions of our guests? Okay. They might speak up in a moment. Okay. You've been so stunning, Mafino and Elijah, that stun them into silence at the moment. There you go.
There's a Ken? Cecilia.
Ken, let's try Ken again. Yeah. Prosper, you're on mute. Would you like to ask our guest a question?
No.
Or any of my view or online? I see Cecilia.
Hello, guys.
There we go.
Good morning. Someone. What is this, Cecilia?
I'm actually not a pharmacist, but I was invited by Elijah because I enjoy your kind of job. So I'm just listening and learning more. So.
Okay. Brilliant. You might have a question anyway. Pose a question to them. They've shared a great deal of information with us this morning.
Maybe the question I would ask is, I'm actually joining you from Ghana, West Africa.
Oh gosh, good for you. And it'd be interesting, whilst I've got you there, it is interesting in terms of the system we have here in Britain and the system you have there in Ghana. Are there distinct differences that you want to highlight?
I should think so, but as far as the private sector is concerned, then people are able to get almost a good treatment like you would get in the UK. But as we can tell, the disparity between the poor people and then the rich ones. So it ends up being that the rich people will go to the private hospitals and get the best. But the poor people at the end of the day are at the mercy of our HNS, which doesn't give so much. So we'll say that the Western world or UK gets it better. And I have lived in Finland for 20 years. And I would also compare that one to even UK. And I want to believe they possibly have a better social system where everybody is equal and can get healthcare in the best way. So that's the little I can say. But the other question I wanted to ask is, why is it that the Black people are so few in this sector, the pharmaceutical sector or the sciences? And what can you guys do to help them join you?
Brilliant question.
Fantastic question. If I may take that first.
Of course.
First of all, I believe it's a lack of awareness. And I say this out of experience because I've been invited a number of times to go and speak to children in schools. And the most recent one was Bexley Grammar, which is not too far from my practice. And I basically went through their career paths and explained a lot of the career paths involving pharmacy, how to become a pharmacist, what grades, just exactly what we're talking about at the beginning. Yeah, and I was amazed how little people knew about these things. The questions, even from teachers in the school, they knew very little about what pharmacy could offer, what the career opportunities were, what the potential income is, and job satisfaction, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and I can say out of that, I have had at least 5 children from that school to come to my practice for work experience.
Oh, wow.
And I'm pleased to say at least one of them was a Black boy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and I took the opportunity to actually personally mentor him. And recently, I think he was going somewhere, because my practice is right outside a railway station. He was going somewhere, got to the station, and decided to just come in and say hello. And to my satisfaction, or pleasant surprise, he has actually opted to go in for pharmacy.
Oh gosh, well done.
So I think we need to create more awareness with programs like this, and I can't thank the Motivator enough for this fantastic opportunity, because I know a lot of young people are listening. There are a lot of interesting opportunities, and pharmacy is not just limited to dispensing medicines, working stuck in a community pharmacy or hospital. There is a lot more you can do. You can go into research and development. You can go into academia if you want to become a lecturer or a teacher or something along those lines. You can go into quality control of medicines, the industry where you develop and manufacture medicines. It's endless. The options are endless, but you need to start somewhere, learn more about it, and you might just find a niche area that you might be interested in. So I think one important way is to create the awareness and let people decide for themselves.
Thank you. Mufina, why do you think there's so few Black people, African peoples in the profession?
Yeah, no, it's actually a really good question, and it's something that we talk a lot about in the pharmacy world, actually. I mean, unfortunately, I agree with Elijah in some respects in terms of, like, most of the time, if you think about generally why people would get into a certain career path, it would probably be my personal opinion, I might be wrong, is your background, the type of family you come from, what type of jobs they normally do, what type of jobs they encourage you to do. And typically that's why you probably see a lot of Asians, because with their culture, it's like, be a doctor, be a pharmacist. Like, their parents won't settle for anything less. If they don't get the grades, they'll make them take a gap year and do it again. They're very determined for them to get into certain jobs and careers. So with Black culture, typically, depending on your background, I feel like I tend to feel in the Black community, it's like two extremes. You either have family that is very education, do this, do that, or you might have family that's very laid back, just get a job, any job. So if your family and your actual network and bubble aren't encouraging, or if you live in an area where no one really goes to university or things like that, then you may not necessarily be engaged or think that that's even an option. And even if you're very intelligent, if nobody around you is encouraging you, then you wouldn't. Like, when I was, especially at the time that you go to university, most people on my course, they were young, they went at the right time. Most people go when they're about 18, 19. You're a teenager, not going to be actively seeking, a hard career path. You want to have fun and chill. And if you don't have parents on your back, or, guardians or parents on your back telling you do this, do that, you're going to take the easiest route possible. So I know a few people that have said to me, they wish their parents had put pressure on them to do more, because now they're looking back, they're working harder now than some other people that get paid more. So at the end of the day, in the long term, it's going to be more beneficial, and it will be less work as you go up the ladder. Just that initial stint. So I do think a lot of it is, like Elijah said, having role models or people who are older telling them or advising them on, what best career path to get into, or even if they don't want to get into it, being aware of it at the very least. And even if they decide not to go down that route, at least they know about it, So
at your profession, the association, as Elijah has been able to do, although he's in the quasi-private sector with a practice, he can afford the time to go to a school and give a presentation. Does your association, do the same, or you don't have the resources to do this?
Well, I mean, we have been, like, obviously it's Black History Month, and we do get approached by a lot of organisations like the Royal Pharmaceutical Society, and, you know, they've got a lot of equality and diversity leads and things like that at various organisations. And especially at the moment, it's like, you know, being Black's a hot topic generally. So it's a good time for us to, like, have this organisation. But I think that in terms of actually, it's hard to actually promote it to everyone, but yeah, we do try to get the word out through. It's hard during COVID as well, but we do try to get the word out through. We do like Zoom, we do webinars, we do, like I did a presentation on Zoom, like I think last year, about discrimination in the workplace, which I think probably would apply to a lot of Black people. It wasn't like specific to pharmacy, but I talked about my pharmacy examples. So yeah, we do try to put things out there, and Zoom events that people can just freely attend. But it is something that I think is really key with the Black community, because you know how it is. Everyone always says all they see on social media or TV or online is rappers and singers and video girls and, you know, have a Instagram channel or being an influencer, you know, get in your bikini or whatever. But no one really kind of promotes, you know, actually just having a stable job. It's like not cool to have a stable job, but we all know in the reality it's not cool to not be able to pay your bills. So.
Brilliantly said. Exactly. Brilliantly said. It's therefore it's up to our community to change these perceptions. You know? Yeah, and we've got to take responsibility. And whilst there are negative forces around us, we are more than strong enough to withstand those negative forces and then guide our children in those professions we see are strategically important to our general health and well-being, our future prospects. So I hear you. And why I don't mind saying, I know Lady Chelsea would agree that we want to continue to work with the association to promote the pharmacy profession as a career path for young people who we come across. So we will always give a shout out for you. Okay, and don't you worry, we want to make sure that happens. But as I said, the crash course I put myself through was such that, good gosh, you are effectively doctors in many ways, in my opinion. You know, you're effectively doctors. Okay, you're not doing the diagnostic side of it, but understanding the efficacy of pharmaceuticals is critical to your job. And I suppose you might want to give some opinion whilst they'll wait to the last 10 minutes of the program to call. Okay, so be ready for the last 10 minutes, folks. Anyway, I just want to say this to you, that there are certain parts of the community who are quite resistant to taking pharmaceuticals and want to resort to sort of natural herbs and means to boost one's immune system and protect themselves from the current maladies. Do you have an opinion, either one of you, about that traditional form of taking care of one's health and well-being? Yeah.
We learn about it a lot, actually. In my personal, the degree that I did, in Manchester, we learned a lot about traditional homeopathic medicines and things like that. I mean, I have to say, I guess as a pharmacist, I do think a lot of it is in your mind, and literally the whole essence of homeopathy is actually a bit backwards. Like, so for example, the more diluted something is of the original substance, the more stronger it is homeopathically. So there's actually a very, very little active substance in what you're taking. But I can understand the merit of it in terms of some people do want to be natural, and actually you'll find a lot of pharmacists don't like taking drugs. They actually don't want to take drugs unless they absolutely have.
There's the contradiction. Here you are. Say that again. Lots of pharmacists don't like taking drugs.
As pharmacists, we see the negative impacts of it as well. There is a lot of side effects from certain drugs. And some, to be fair, we are even taught, like some pharmaceutical industries, they do create drugs that actually are not going to cure it, because then they're not going to make money if you're not coming back, you know? So they actually decide to, you know, do something that alleviates your symptoms, gets you by just enough that you need to come back to have more type of thing, because otherwise there's still you know, a company trying to make money. I personally think, you know, if you've got cancer or, you know, you've got something, you definitely should take drugs. You know, if you've got something that you genuinely are critically ill, you should take medication. It can help with things like dementia and Parkinson's, like, you know, there are really, really helpful drugs. But there are other things that I think actually you don't need drugs if you were to change your lifestyle. Quite frankly, a lot of people just don't want to put the effort in to change their lifestyle or change their diet. They want to eat what they want to eat. They want to live how they want to live. They want to drink. They want to smoke. I'll tell you, a lot of people that came through that have had heart attacks, 90% of them were smokers, in my personal experience, when they come through. And they don't want to quit. Although there are some people that quit on sight because it's all psychological. They think, oh, crap, like, I genuinely could die from this now. I'm just going to quit. But a lot of it is, you know, if you lived a healthy lifestyle, unless you know you don't have type 1 diabetes or something that is genetic, you could probably not need to escalate to the point you need to be hospitalized, you know. But
okay, thank you for that. Now that's perfect.
If I could just add a little bit to that, and interestingly, I'm actually deep into nutrition.
Ah, there you are. Right. Okay. Let's talk.
Yes. As a matter of fact, this afternoon I'll be giving a talk on nutrition to a group somewhere in Kent. And the first question I usually get asked is, as a pharmacist, how do you marry the two? How can you be in the drugs industry and still promote non-drug alternative way of healthcare? And my answer is very simple. I was trained to aid and improve people's health, not just to deal with disease.
Right.
Yeah. So if there are other ways that you can prevent people from getting ill in the first place, why not?
Yes.
Yeah. And using nutritional approaches, we are getting significant results. Yeah, we are actually reversing things like type 2 diabetes that people didn't think was reversible. And we are combining lifestyle advice and, you know, getting people to just adopt healthier living options. And we're getting phenomenal results out of that. And I see it as a win-win because, look, our NHS is cash-strapped. There isn't enough money out there. And if you imagine diabetes alone consuming 10% of the entire NHS budget in England and Wales, so if I could just speak to 200 people to change their lifestyle and stop them getting those insulins and metformins and so on, that is more money available to take care of more serious illnesses. So that is a win-win, you know. And if I can do so and actually stop people going on to develop cancers and more serious diseases, and there is a lot of evidence for that, then why not? Yeah, so I think it's a very interesting area that would probably require an entire session on its own. But that's the little I can say for now.
In terms of diabetes, that's a big one. Diabetes, especially type 2 diabetes, is very diet orientated. And a lot of people just don't want to cut out the sugar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the government has taken drastic action in you know, with the sugar tax and things like that to force us to take less sugar. But it is very common amongst the Afro-Caribbean community and Asian culture because we do have a lot of sort of like oily, sugary type foods. And it's like part of the culture to eat, you know, and have food. So, yeah, it is something that we need to be more conscious of as Black community.
Fascinating. You may not have been listening to my program first 30 minutes. I know it's quite early, I know. So we always give out those health messages, and we don't give instructions. We simply ask people to consider how much sugar they're taking in each day, the salt they're consuming each day, fat that they're consuming, you know, ask them to consider the amount of carbohydrates they're ingesting through these biscuits and breads and so on, you know. and so on. And it's all designed to try and encourage our people to really think about the foods and the effect the food has on their bodies. But food should be your medicine, is my family tradition. And absolutely, you got it, yeah? And therefore, my parents say it would be increased amount of fruits and vegetables, drink, and lots of exercise. Oh my God, my dad loves to make
exercise.
Lots of exercise. Anyway, so I see we've got a caller on with the number ending. Oh, I think I know this number 9034. Good morning to you.
Yeah, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising indeed.
Oh, good morning.
And this is the Chelsea, and to the guest at large. Yeah, it's very interesting what is happening, and something that the conversation and the guests that you have on, because what happened is I've been thinking about this. There's a lot of pharmacies. As I said, I've traveled around London and around the UK, and it's very rare that you see chemists that has, that is run by African people.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly they are Indian.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things which I would like to ask the guests, are the cooperatives, because so many Indians running, are there cooperatives, these farms?
Are pharmacists cooperatives, is your question?
Yeah, that's my first question. But then I just want to answer to that, and then I want to come back.
Maybe I could attempt to answer that very quickly. And Mefino alluded to this earlier. Indian and the Asian communities in general tend to have family-run businesses, and you will be surprised how difficult it is to buy a pharmacy from an Indian family if you're not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost impossible.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, as I understand it, they do not advertise pharmacies publicly.
Right.
If they have a pharmacy for sale, maybe through retirement or whatever reason, they first and foremost make it open to their own community. And I think that is a big learning curve for us as Black people, because we need to learn to work together. We need to learn to trade together. We need to learn to keep our money within our communities.
Yes.
That is the only way we can ensure we are actually empowered. And it's not just Indians. The Jewish community does the same. As a matter of fact, I think there was some research. I'm not sure if I got the figures right, but £1 in a Jewish or Indian community probably revolves within the community 90% of the time, whereas in the Black community, it goes out probably 90% of the time. So you can do the maths yourself. We need to learn to work together. I think we are not very good at collaborating. And again, Mefino alluded to that earlier. Sometimes it's just not possible for one individual to do all the heavy lifting. We need to come together. Somebody is good at one aspect, another is good at another, and so on and so forth. If we come together, you'll be amazed how far and how quickly we can rise as a community. And let's learn to empower ourselves.
Absolutely.
Motivator has started something very important, and I hope we all support that. And we learn to work as a community. Support our businesses, Black-owned businesses. If there is anything you want to buy and there is a Black business that offers it, be it a good or a service or whatever, I think we should learn to buy from that Black business as a preference to any competitor out there. And
thank you, Elijah. That's inspired words. I'm conscious of time. Just realised the time, of course. But I'll give you one more shot at your question. Further question?
Yeah, well, the brother outlined what I'm coming at, because you see, that's what I'm saying, is that, I'm promoting cooperatives. And cooperative is about us coming together in order to do for ourselves, as the brother was saying, right? So that's what I'm asking. Can they not, as the Black Association of Chemists, why don't they formulate together and form a cooperative instead of just alongside the association, so that they can develop their own chemists?
Yeah.
You know,
but Akram, hold that thought. What I might do, because we can't do this right now, is that I might put you all in touch together after the show. Okay, that will make for a very interesting discussion. Okay, and as you know, I very rarely support lone rangers, and we've got in our community we are swamped with lone rangers. I only support those who wish to work cooperatively with other Black people. Okay, but only working together can we make genuine progress. Okay, so I hear you, but Akram, after the show, I will put you in touch with the association, and I hope you and the association can come up with a formula that would allow us to either develop a sort of pharmacy chain or indeed strengthen the association's governance and operational status. You know, I see real potential there, Brother Akram. So believe me, after the show, I will put you both in touch with each other. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much for that.
It is my pleasure, and thank you, and keep up the good work in the African Cooperative Union. Okay, keep up the good work. Okay. Thank you. I'm now conscious of time. I realise it's now 5 to 10. So I'm going to invite Elijah, maybe just a few moments, to give us your closing comments.
Yes, I would just want to say pharmacy is a fantastic profession.
Absolutely.
It's got a lot more to offer than people see out there. A lot of people imagine all we do is pop out pills, but there is a lot more. We are actually very clinical. As a matter of fact, in the part of the world where I studied for my degree, we will have medical universities where all the medical professions, dentistry, pharmacy, medicine, and so on, midwifery, all come together. And in the vast majority of cases, all the different professions study together the first 3 years. And then from 4th year onwards, people start to specialize in their areas. So pharmacy, we specialize in treatment and medicines. Doctors specialize in diagnostics and so on and so forth. Yeah, so people are not wrong to think we are effectively doctors, and we do a lot more than people give us credit for. Yeah, but yes, it's a very rewarding, very satisfying profession. No 2 days in a pharmacy are ever the same. It's always different, always something to be excited about. So if you've not thought about it previously, I strongly encourage you to do. And this is especially to the youth.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Elijah. Wise words. If I may, Mafino, please, I'd love to hear from you. Yes.
Yeah, I'll make it short. Essentially, I reiterate a lot of what Elijah's just said. There's a lot more to pharmacy. I think you're just a pill popper too. That's why I went for it, actually. I thought it was the easy option. But it is a lot more than, there's a lot of drugs out there. Yeah, it can be diverse. You can work in the pharmaceutical industry. I have friends that work for GSK. I've worked for Pfizer. You know, you can work in hospital, loads of NHS or private. Obviously, community. You can work in like the funding services. So it's very diverse. You don't have to just be stuck in one sort of niche sector and you think that's your life type of thing. And you know, don't be afraid to try something new, to look into different things. And I would say one thing generally, just because I think Elijah made a lot of good points anyway about pharmacy specifically, I would say that one thing about Black people in the workplace generally is they have a mentality that, oh, you know, I should just be good at my job and just work hard and I should naturally be promoted and this, that, and the other, and I'm not going to suck up to the boss just to get ahead. But as somebody has decided after working for a few years and not being appreciated, when I just started forming really good relationships with like the managers and the bosses, my life got a lot easier and I didn't do as much work. Like, so be close to your manager and boss. Don't just think your work speaks for itself. Like whatever sector you decide to go into, working relationships are really important. People, your managers are human. Like they want to be working with people that they get on with, and they're going to treat you better if they get on with you. So just make sure you get on with everyone really well, and your life will just be generally easier, be able to like climb a lot faster.
Thank you. Wow. One so young, huh? Wow, good for you. We look forward to you becoming a professor of pharmacy one day. Pardon, Mufino? What?
I don't know about that. I'm happy with my 9 to 5 right now.
You know me, I know your dad, you see. I know he wants you to become a professor of pharmacy. I can assure you. Anyway.
My dad wanted me to be a doctor. He's a doctor actually himself. He wanted me to be a doctor. I thought it would be too many hours, actually. I don't want to.
Oh, you're so wrong, huh? Okay. But thank you, Mufino, for coming along and speaking so eloquently about the profession, the UK Black Pharmacy Association, and being such an excellent representative of the profession, you know. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for inviting me. Pleasure. I think it's amazing what you're doing. Promoting the Black community and getting us together is an amazing initiative, and I hope it just keeps growing and growing. Really. Thank you.
And it will grow.
It will grow. Sure. It will grow.
Failure is not an option.
Yeah.
There you are. Okay. And Elijah, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much for your wise words. Your length in the profession is evident, and we look forward to you nurturing other pharmacy chains across Britain. Okay. There's our signature tune is playing.
Yeah.
Thank you both for being excellent representatives of the profession, and we hope others will now join you as a result of this and other shows. Well done. And on behalf of the community, thank you so very much.
Yeah, thank you to both of you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.